No. All right, call the Traffic Commission meeting to order. Entertain a motion to approve the agenda with 2 additional items.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. And just to verify, the 2 additional items are request to close the library parking lot on Friday, May 31st, and also to close the 300 and 400 block of North Main and the 100 block of West 3rd for the first Fridays on June 7th for their events. So, first item on the agenda is the Heart and Soul Cancer Walk. Run Board of Directors would like to request that the City of Mitchell close West 8th Street from North Minnesota to North Iowa Street and Cadwell entrance to 8th on Friday, June 14th, 2019, from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. for the Cancer Walk Run event. This is a repeat event.
Similar to
Yep.
last year.
Yep.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion or other input? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Next, Dave Epp requests a parade permit for the 7th Annual Neil Epp Memorial Poker Run. The event is on Saturday, June 29, 2019, with a 12:30 p.m. start. Parade would begin at the Lake House, located at 2700 North Main Street, and travel south to Highway 37 bypass and proceed south past the Ramada Inn and then south out of town. This is also a repeat event.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion or input, either from the committee or the?
Amount of time is 10 to 15 minutes
Yeah,
type thing
sure.
again? Okay.
Yeah, 10 to 15 minutes. All right. Motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Next, Dakota Wesleyan University requests homecoming parade permit for DW's Blue and White Day Parade for Saturday, October 5, 2019, beginning at 10 a.m. until approximately 11 a.m. The parade route would begin on Main Street from 9th to 1st Avenue, with the following streets blocked off from 10th Avenue to Railroad Avenue for the parade, as well as cars removed from the following streets with no parking beginning at 4:30 a.m. It would be North Lawler Street from 7th to 9th Avenue, East 9th Avenue from Lawler to Main, North Main Street from 9th to Railroad, and then addition, Dakota Wesleyan requests to use the public parking lots between 9th and 7th Avenue that are located between Lawler and Kimball Street, also known as the Disco Parking Lot, again for the staging area. This would include no public parking in this lot beginning at 4:30 a.m. until the conclusion of the parade. In addition, DW is requesting East 4th Avenue from Lawler to Kimball to be blocked off and vehicles removed for the band staging area. This is also a repeat event.
Motion to approve.
Motion, is there a second? Second. Any further discussion or input from the committee or the public? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Next, the Corn Palace Stampede Rodeo Committee requests parade permit for the rodeo parade scheduled for Saturday, July 20th, beginning at 10:30 a.m. In preparation for the parade, the Corn Palace Stampede Rodeo Committee is requesting, beginning at 4:30 a.m., no vehicles be allowed to park on either side of the street along the parade route, as well as the areas on Main Street that are used to line up the parade entries. This would encompass the following areas: Main Street from 12th Avenue south to 1st, Raleigh Street 9th to 11th Avenue, east side of street only, the 100 blocks of West 9th, 10th, and 11th, and 1st Street, East 1st to Lawler, Lawler Street from 1st Avenue North to 11th, to include the 100 blocks of East 9th, 100 blocks of East 10th, and 100 block of East 11th, and then East 9th Avenue from the McTee parking lot to Main Street. This is also a repeat.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
McTee parking lot to Main Street, that's where it was last year, right?
Yes.
And last year was the first year of this? Did
No.
you went that far yet?
On the no parking, I think it was. Yes. Yep.
And so it is happening in this.
Right. Yeah, they used that route before. We just didn't restrict parking.
I know we want to give it a bunch of parking. for
You're right.
didn't know
Yep.
last year, so
Yep. Just so you know it.
it precipitated a bunch of phone calls to my office, and I just want to make a note. It's going to happen again.
All right. We had a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Next, Jackie Hess, Library Director, requests to close the parking lot of the library on Friday, May 31st for a plastic pop bottle rocket launch event. Jackie is here if there's further discussions. This will also go in front of the library board tomorrow, so.
Move to approve.
Motion, is there a second? Okay, any further discussion, questions, input? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion's carried.
Thank you.
Okay.
Come and join us on Thursday. What's that?
Do you want to tell them what your event is that's going
Sure.
on?
Our library, our summer reading program theme is a universe of stories. Of course, that opens it up to any thing, you know, that relates to that. So we decided we were going to have a plastic pop bottle or plastic bottle rocket launch. So what it is, it's very simple. You have clear plastic bottles or colored plastic bottles with just a little bit of water. The launcher, we have PVC pipe, a bicycle pump that will be as our launch pad. So what they do is they put the bicycle pump on one end and the bottle with the water, and then they pump it, and as soon as it gets enough pressure, the rocket just launches. So we're expecting a lot of kids, so only one can do that at a time, so we have other activities for the kids. So like parachute ducks, something like that to keep the kids occupied. The reason why we wanted to close the parking lot is for the safety of the kids. You know, you don't want to have them in cars coming in the parking lot and them not seeing the kids. And also for the safety of the cars and windows that might
How high do these
happen.
things go?
I don't think very high, maybe 3 feet.
Oh,
Yeah,
all right,
yes, yeah.
okay,
Yep, that's all it is.
okay, fast.
Don't say that.
They did it in grade school, they went, really high.
Okay.
The last one is the Salute to Firefighters Committee requests the closure of the 300 block and the 400 block of North Main and the 100 block of West Third. It's for the First Friday's event. It's a Hometown Heroes event, but they're going to do it in coordination with the Carnegie, who is hosting this Salute to Firefighters event. And we'll also be hosting the State Fire School in Mitchell at that time. So the idea is to tie the Downtown Fridays event to that, and they want to like string fire apparatus and trucks from the downtown all the way to Third, and then up Walkway to the Carnegie, where there'll be some historical items and another presentation and some other trucks there.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion or input on this? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Will be an
Linda.
adjournment.
Linda, now
6:07.
This is your last meeting,
It is. Been a few of them.
Traffic Commission.
Yeah.
We're gonna give you one more chance to rescind your
You don't have your envelope, you can hand it me, and I can hand it to the mayor.
No, I would like to thank you guys all for the support you've given us over the years. We've had a lot of items come in front of this committee and some challenges and that sort of thing, but overall, I think we've done a lot to promote the city, so.
Thank you for your time on
Yeah.
this thing.
You're very good to work with.
Thank you.
Yep, yep, thanks.
Call the meeting in order, start with the Pledge of Allegiance. We have invocation by Mr. Christensen, Cornerstone Baptist Church.
Let's pray. Lord, we just are thankful for the willingness of the mayor and the city council members to serve the citizens of Mitchell. And Lord, I'm thankful for their obedient heart and starting each and every city council meeting in prayer, seeking your will, your direction, Lord. And once we seek your will, we need to follow it. The Bible says that humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord, and he, the Lord, will lift you up. We're here humbled before you, Lord. We're seeking your wisdom and guidance in all the important business matters of the city that are always before the mayor and the city council. We thank you, Lord, for your blessings, that your name may be magnified, and we pray in the holy divine name of our risen Savior, the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Savers. Rice.
Here.
Dosher. McCardle.
Here.
Barrington. Allen.
Here.
Charks. Smith.
Here. Oops, we have a quorum. Approval of consent agenda items. Items appearing on consent agenda may be removed by a city council member for discussion at the beginning of the formal agenda items. One thing I would like to point out as we get started is there has been an executive session that was not on the original agenda that was added for contractual or legal negotiations, over negotiations.
Okay, I've got a couple of questions. First one's for Kyle in the airport report. They talk about finding lack of drainage and then maybe committing us to only the 75-foot runway. Is that a done deal yet, or is that just somebody's opinion in the airport report?
It's still not a done deal. The independent fee evaluation still needs to be completed. But we did get soil boring information that says there's lack of drainage and really structural integrity of the runway to support at this time. So it looks like we are leaning toward the direction of a 75-foot runway and paved shoulders, which on either side of the runway would be 12.5 feet. So the runway width, again, with the shoulders, would be the total of 100, but the runway width is looking like it would be 75.
Okay, thank you. And maybe, Kyle, this is yours too. On the water rate report, we have a 0 and then a amount over. I didn't see we paid any surcharge amount, and I'm sure we didn't use 0 in one day. So was it just a reporting?
It was a report, yes, sir. It was a reporting through BY. If you see the next day, it's actually the 2 million.
Yep.
So that's right. It was a reporting system from BY.
Okay.
We're looking to actually make that a little more accurate on their side.
Okay.
But as you can see, the 0 and then the next day at 2.675, I think it is, which averages out to about what the typical daily
Okay.
usage.
And the next question I have is on the pre-Sturgis rally. And I think it's just a leftover reference, but we're not asking Northwestern Energy to close their parking lot. So we probably shouldn't refer to it as the Northwestern Energy parking lot. Northwestern Energy is located over on Burr.
Actually,
And-
I'm sure that was an error, but we
It
do
is.
internally still refer it to that.
I know
but
what we internally
I'll have-
refer to it as,
yep.
but
I will have Scott update
that
that in
we
his staff
refer to
report.
it as
Yeah, I see.
something other than Northwestern
City-owned Northwestern, the former
parking
Northwestern
lot.
parking.
Yep. And then we have and I think this is in the same, we have a maybe for fireworks, and I don't know if we can approve a maybe. It's on page 94. Will fireworks or other things be part of this? And it's circled, says maybe. On the application that the city filled out. No, I think this is still on August 1st. The application. Yeah, pre-Sturgis, we'd say fireworks maybe, and I don't know if maybe it's either yes or no at this point. And
Would you want to make them come back for a
they would come
fireworks
back,
permit then?
yeah, if they kind of figure it out. And then the other part, and this is again in pre-Sturgis on page 99, and then on page 98, we have main stage listed in 2 different places. And are we going to have 2 main stages, or is it going to be at 6th, or is it going to be over on 5th? Do we know? Or did we just use some old maps?
I don't know what he's planning.
Okay, right
whether
there,
it's-
we have main stage at 6th and Main. And go to the next page,
Which is actually the map.
and we have, no, next. Yep, there's two of them. No,
Oh my gosh, do I keep pulling up the same
same
one?
one, I don't know. But and then we have the main stage down here by the old Elks building.
That'd be on the city parking lot, or is that on Fifth
I
Street?
don't know, but I think the outline for alcohol and stuff is not quite the same either on the two maps, so that's why I was curious.
Yeah, I can't tell you. I suppose you could
Can we
table
pick-
action until Scott's back from leave, but
Do we know how we're gonna set up, or?
We could probably get it clarified
Not
by
for
next
sure.
meeting, but
Okay,
I don't know either.
I think that's where they had it last time too, but I can't say that for certain. I haven't been involved in the meeting.
and it-
I'm not either.
The main stage was on
yep,
Fifth
and on page
last time.
98, along 6th Avenue, next to the chamber, is not included in alcohol, and on page 99 it is.
Yeah, I guess if I would have had the questions ahead of time, I could have clarified with Scott, but he's not here. He's out on leave, so I can't clarify that for you because I have not been at these meetings.
So I guess that I'd like to pull the pre-Sturgis approval off and then put it on the next meeting when we can get out of the consent agenda.
Okay.
To have that answered, if that's okay. I mean, I don't want to approve a alcohol area when I don't know exactly which one we're
Okay.
approving.
I'm not sure if Scott's back by then. Would you just like it scheduled when he returns?
Yeah, that would be fine. Yeah, that's a good point.
How
As
long?
long, yeah, I want to make sure we meet the deadline, though.
He gets what, 12? He's on paternity leave, so he may be gone a while since he only had the baby 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
The chamber might know too.
Why don't we get a clarification from him for the next meeting via
Okay.
email and go that route?
Yeah,
Right.
thank you. So, I think that's all.
Okay, so we're pulling G out, it won't be acted upon?
Correct.
Well, you'll have to have a motion to
Yep.
table it. So.
Well, I'll move to approve the consent agenda without item G and to have item G continued tabled until a meeting that we can get the answer, I guess. I don't know how to.
Okay.
The next meeting or until we can get response from
Can those
Scott as
be
to
in a single
which one that they
motion
want.
like that, or do we have to do one first and then act on the other?
Okay,
Okay.
I'll move to table item G.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Rice, second by Mr. Allen to table item G. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? Roll call vote, please.
Dosher. McCardle.
Aye.
Barrington. Allen.
Aye.
Charts. Smith.
Aye.
Sabers. Rice.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Now we'll entertain a motion for the remainder of the approval of consent agenda items.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Rice,
Second.
second by Mr. McCardle. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address the remainder of these? Roll call, please.
Barrington. Allen. Charts. Smith.
Aye.
Sabers. Rice.
Aye.
Dosher. McCardle.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 7, citizens' input. If you need to address the mayor and members of the city council on an item that was not on the agenda, excluding personnel items, please come forward to the podium to state your name and your concern. Presentations are limited to 3 minutes. It will be considered, but no action will be taken at this time. Does anybody wish to address council? Council members have any comments?
The only thing I would bring up with the Veterans Park, the Garden Club we'll be adding flowers and sprucing it up here sometime before Memorial Day. So if you see them or see them out there, tell them thank you.
I will bring up one thing. We have a member of our Planning and Zoning Commission that passed away last Friday night, so I would ask that you keep his family in your prayers. Harlan Quenzer passed away Friday night about 6:30. Further comments? Committee report.
Since you were all here at 6 PM, do you want me to go through it all, or do you want to make a motion to approve it as heard at 6 PM?
I will accept a motion to approve it.
I'll make that motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Smith,
Second.
second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address the report? You would think this was the last one for him. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Board of Adjustment, entertain a motion for the city council to recess and sit as the Board of Adjustment. Motion by Mr.
Second.
Allen. Second by
Second.
Mr. McCardle. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address it? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Action to set the date for Board of Adjustment hearing 06/03/2019. Kimberly Cluth has applied for a conditional use permit home occupation to operate a massage business at a residence located at 1106 West 6th Avenue, legally described as the west half of Lot 6, Block 3, Bracey's Addition, City of Mitchell, Davis County, South Dakota. Property is zoned R2, single-family residence.
Move to set the date.
Motion by Mr. Rice, second by Mr. Barrington. Discussion? Did you need to speak to this one, Mr. Putnam? Okay. Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item 11, hearing and action, Terrence and Michelle Lindy, 324 East Line, thank you, 324 East 14th Avenue. Terrence and Michelle Line applied for a front yard variance of 13 feet versus 25 feet is required to construct a covered porch and placement of an accessory building at their home located at 324 East 14th Avenue. Legally describes Lot 4, Block 1, Fullerton Terrace Edition, City of Mitchell, Davis County, South Dakota. Properties R2, single-family residential.
Mayor and council members, the Planning Commission held a hearing on this request, and as you can see in their minutes, they did recommend approval of the variance for the construction of the covered porch, if you can see in their plan. They did, I should say that they did supplement the letter since the Planning Commission. You probably saw why there was two letters in there. One was post-Planning Commission, and then also they did include some photographs that came in after the Planning Commission. But nonetheless, the Planning Commission did recommend approval. However, they had recommended that the shed or the small building be aligned with the house on the east side. So, but as you can see in the letters, they have an explanation why they don't want to do that. Terrence is here if you've got questions of him. Again, direct your attention to the letter post-Planning Commission and the photographs that they submitted. As you can kind of see too on the aerial, it is an unusual lot. You can kind of see where it's a little wider. And, the dimensions there, see that and then 14th kind of jogs out a little bit, so as you can see. Yeah. If you got questions of him, he's here. There was no neighborhood objection, so.
Okay, and my only question, and we're talking about the placement of the shed somewhere in this area, correct?
Yeah, I'll let him speak to it.
Well, the picture's gone now, but that is correct.
Okay, in this area, so from the plan, we have the triangle view type criteria. Where does where they want to put it violate?
No. They're well past 35. They're well past the 35-foot side triangle, which is by the curb, so you keep the curb.
They wanted to kind of line it up with the home, is that right?
Yeah, there you
Bill?
go.
That's what the zoning
And
board
what they did
wants.
was they wanted to turn the building 90 degrees, I believe.
The reason we don't want to put it back even is because we have an egress window that's right there on the east side of the house, right basically there. And with it being there, I want to make sure it's safe to get in and out of that if need be. And if you look at the north side of the house, we have no yard in the back. We have 12 feet, 1 inch from the edge of our house to our lot line. And then there's a house right there, and they got all the yard back there. So what we were planning on doing is fencing in that side yard, but we don't want a building right in the middle of the fenced-in side yard because we don't have much yard anyway, other than just that pretty much in front of the house and then down to the corner. We have more side yard than we do anything. So
Okay.
that's why we wanted to have that building there. I mean, it doesn't really stick out past the approved porch.
Okay.
It's gonna be pretty much almost
with
in
that?
line with that.
And with your porch, you won't have to take your tree down?
No.
They'll just-
We had someone look at that and they didn't think that it was gonna be an issue. But obviously, if it does become an issue, I mean, we'll take the tree down, but we're not
You're
planning.
hoping
We're hoping not
not
to take the
to.
tree down.
Okay.
A motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. McCardle,
Second.
second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion?
One point of clarification on that, is that based on the planning commission's recommendation or their initial request in the application?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Yeah.
On the planning
Does-
commission's recommendations.
No, oh,
And that,
No,
you,
on his request.
okay.
Excuse me.
Planning commission wanted equal with the house. You're allowing him to be where he wants,
Where he wants to put it,
for his reason.
for his reason.
Per the
we got
plan.
that?
Per the plan that he
per his
submitted,
plan.
For his plan.
The
Yeah.
homeowner's plan.
per the homeowner's.
That one you just had up there, right? That one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll
That
second
one.
that.
And it is not in the sightway.
Yeah, we'll double check that when you get,
Well, I've got measurements on
Yeah,
that
he's got-
drawing, how far it is from the edge of the sidewalk at an angle there. I want to say it's
Right.
27 feet.
right, we'll make sure.
That's the plan you want, Terry.
Yes.
Yeah, the plan Terry wants.
Okay. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item 12, action to table Board of Adjustment hearing for Carlos and Elena Reyes, 412 East 12th Avenue, from 5/20/2019 to 6/3/2019.
Move to table. Second.
Motion by Mr. Rice, second by Mr. Barrington. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address it? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Reconvene as city council, entertain a motion for the Board of Adjustment to adjourn the city council reconvene in regular session.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rice, second by Mr. Allen. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Action to approve applications for renewal malt beverage licenses. My understanding is we have no issues with any of these.
Right. From public safety standpoint, we have no issues.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. McCardle,
Second.
second by Mr. Savers. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address it? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
I'll abstain, would imagine.
You're abstaining, Mr. Brennan?
Put in there somewhere.
Okay.
I'm associated with one of them.
You got that? Mrs. Balke, all right.
All right, thank you.
Action to approve agreement A 2019-21 Wildland Fire Agreement. Mr. Overby, are you going to speak to it?
Right. This is a multi-year contract with the state, and this is the same contract that all departments across the state will use. This is when we get called up for like a forest fire out in the Black Hills. These are the rates that they will pay, and the conditions we'd have to abide by.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Allen, second by Mr. Barrington. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address it? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to award bid for curb and gutter project 2019-14. Mr. Croce?
Mr. Mayor, and Council, this bid was for the hazardous curb and valley gutters and approach and pavement and fillet sections. So the bid opening was on May 14th at 1:30, and the contractor that submitted the bid was Rex Wickle Concrete. You can see that they bid on both Schedule A and B. Schedule A for $90,410.45, and Schedule B $117,386.50. And so we did include the amount, beginning budget there on the bottom, and what has been awarded through the pavement overlay, and the remaining balance for the one contract that is still outstanding, which is the rec center paving. So there is some money left over, but Rex Winkle has done a good job for the city in the past, so we recommend award to the contract to Rex Winkle.
Is the price per square foot similar to last year?
So I think it's a little bit higher. What, is it 50 cents or so, Terry? It's about 50 cents higher per square foot.
And I'm not opposed to Rex Winkle, of course, but I'm curious about why we're only getting one bidder.
Actually, that's a good question. I think it goes to timing and just the local contractors in the area. We do have another contractor that's bidding the other section of concrete for sidewalk. I think a lot of it is timing and size of the project. We'd like to get more.
And when you say that, you mean because it's too big, or it's too small, or too early, too late? What?
I think both. I think a lot of it is later in the year. We're trying to get it out earlier, but with the weather, it's very difficult this year. The number of contractors in town plays a factor as well. And then contractors coming from out of town into Mitchell.
I think last year we bid it a little bit earlier too, did we not?
Yes, sir.
Of course, you and I weren't here, Mr. Croce, but. Okay. Further discussion?
Move to
Oops,
award Rex Winkle.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Allen. Second by Mr. McCardle. Now further discussion.
Yes.
Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address it? All those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Hearing for 2019 proposed special assessments for alley project in the 2001 block of North Main Alley between 2nd and 3rd on the west side of Main Street. Mr. Johnson.
At this time, we'll hold our public hearing for the proposed alley assessment between 2nd and 3rd on the west side of Main Street. This alley is in really poor condition, has a lot of potholes in it. We fill them from time to time, but the base that's probably underneath it is probably maybe only 2 to 3 inches. And the base that we will put underneath it's probably going to be closer to 10 to 12 inches when we're done. At the same time, we are planning on rebuilding the parking lot at 2nd and Raleigh. So we will do this in conjunction of both projects if the alley is approved. If the alley isn't approved, we'll probably still proceed with rebuilding the alley, rebuilding the parking lot, but we'll skip the alley and we'll just pothole patch it and try to get by. The alley has very poor drainage. What our plan is on new alleys is we will construct a 6-inch thick reinforced concrete surfacing with an inverted crown, so the crown in the middle is lower than what it is up at the buildings. We are limited for space in this area, so we're trying to get, instead of forcing that water on a regular street out to the edges, we want to force the water into the middle, and then we'll bring it out to the streets. If this goes through, the way the assessment would work is we would build it this summer, probably in that late July, August timeframe. And we would build it this year. We would bill the work next year. And the property owners would have 30 days after the collection hearing to pay it without any interest. If they decide they don't want to pay it all at that same time, it'll be 8% interest divided up into 10 years. Some of the businesses that are affected are the VFW, Bride and Groom, Harv's, Garmin's, Dr. Lucky's, and the Toggery. And that is the block that you're in. You can see that covered structure right there where Stephanie's looking at. That used to be an old bank teller for First National Bank. And we've had discussions with Terry Sabers that there is an underground tunnel underneath there that goes underneath the alley that's got some tubes that at the time when the bank was there for the drive-up windows. So when we expose that alley, we will go through there and block off that tunnel or those tubes so there isn't a void that could happen later on underneath that alley.
You been in contact with those business owners?
Well, we sent them all letters. The only one that contacted me is Terry Sabers and asked some questions. So at this time, this is when we will invite, any of those property owners to come up and ask questions or comment on this public assessment. So if anyone wants to come up, you're more than welcome.
I guess it looks like me.
Don't be shy.
I'll try not to be. I usually am, but I'm Terry Sabers of Sabers Properties, and as Terry mentioned, it's the Mitchell National Bank building, actually. Up there, we happen to own that. That's where Tickled Pink is. And I'm also lucky enough to own the covered structure and everything to the left of that, which means I have almost as much footage on the alley as the city does. My bill is just maybe even just a little bit more than the city's. And, it really does need to be done. I mean, if you don't believe it, drive down it, but drive real slow because some of the potholes will eat your car up. And Terry did tell me today that because of the quotes, it saves some money. So, my bill is still going to be around $13,000. So it's a big investment for our property there. That coupled with the fact that we're in the next couple of weeks, if the rain ever quits, going to put a $60,000 roof on the building. It's the last thing that we need to do to protect that building because it's a very distinctive building. But and while this is going on, and then of course, you can't see the 3rd Street blocked off there, the access is very limited to that and to the businesses there, which brings my next discussion. The disappointing part of this whole situation, that we have an eyesore that is 100 feet from our property. It's a safety hazard, disgrace to downtown. And it's terrible access to those businesses. And now it's been going on for nearly 2 years. It's become a severe joke to those that are not close by. And those of us that are close by, it's a real hit to any traffic for those stores. And now with the lawsuit, and how slow they take, it would not surprise me if we're in the same condition a year from now. I thought we had a solution to this winter, but that fell through at the last minute, and I wasn't around. And I know there's not an easy button to push to make this happen, but something should have happened by now. It's got to be a priority. We got to get this thing resolved and get it open. I mean, it's a joke. But in the meantime, I guess we do need to move forward to this alley and get it done. So at least that's done. But we really, really got to do something with that building and get 3rd Street back open again.
We're working on it.
We just got to push.
Fast as we can.
We got to push, Mark my word, we could be here a year from now and still have it in the same position unless we find a way to push it hard.
We're aware of that. We're trying to get it through as quickly as we can. We do go to court this week over it, so.
Okay. Any questions for me? Only, the last thing I would ask is that we could at least get some patching in those potholes to get by till August. Because it's, unless you want to hold the traffic down to 5 mile an hour, which they do that, but get it patched up a little bit.
Terry, is your anticipation to keep your covered porch, the old drive-through there, is it your?
At this
anticipation to
time,
keep that?
yeah, it's not in the way, and so we're going to
Okay.
keep it. It's a little hail protection, you know, weather protection when they're there during the day, so. But, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions from you guys before we go into the resolution?
Yeah, go ahead.
Terry, are there plans to bury any of the utilities? I mean, the alleys on either side of Main, up and down, are eyesores. I mean, with this paving project, are there any plans to bury some of the power lines, et cetera?
There are no plans as part of this. If, just like what we ran into over here, if we were to bury those utility companies don't want to incur the cost, and it would have to be a city cost to do that, which would be a pretty sizable amount, which is what we ended up over here, so.
Okay. My question kind of goes back to when we did the parking lot at Fifth and Raleigh and the timing things that come up where all of a sudden something else is closed or whatever. Do we have this blocked out so that we know exactly when we're going to do it in July and August, and we can make sure we avoid other things happening at the same time? I mean, Sanborn's going to be going on, and the question just comes to mind, are we going to be blocking something else off at a time when we're trying to run traffic right down this road?
I mean, street crews are going to be busy doing chip sealing until about the third week of July. And that's in the fourth week of July is when we start construction projects like this. We also have quite a bit of road work that we have to rebuild all over town. So we're going to be coordinating with a street department. We're going to be coordinating with commercial asphalt, Rex Winkle Concrete, to make sure we could get in and out of this. And we'll keep coordination with Sanborn's schedule. Maybe by that time, that first phase will be a little bit more opened up, at least past First, to where we can move into there to where we have as the least amount of disruption as we can. With those businesses being against that alley, they're going to be affected, and we want to make this more seamless as much as we can so that we could get things open back up as soon as we can.
Terry, on between Fifth and Fourth, did Rex Winkle do that one? Or we did that one?
Between Fifth and Fourth, our contractor was Top Grade Concrete. I mean, the replacement, or, okay, so Top Grade Concrete just did a little bit of work that was ready to go. We didn't have the timing in late fall by the time we got all the utility work done. We didn't have the time to get in there. The material was soft, it was getting cold, so that's when we filled in the areas. And then we got those areas filled in with gravel to get us through the winter. What our plan is now that we got a contractor that was approved for our alley replacement, we'll be able to get them on the schedule so they could get that alley buttoned up here right away.
Very good.
So with that, if you want to move into the resolution.
Before we move out of there, just maybe follow up, Justin. What are you anticipating this week with the court?
It's not going to be anything groundbreaking. The primary motion is for defendant's attorney to withdraw from the case. So,
Which might speed things up, maybe.
That's
If he
this
doesn't have an
week.
attorney.
this Thursday, right?
Okay, move into your.
Okay.
resolution.
So at this time, we will move into the resolution of necessity. I guess, is there a motion to approve this?
Move approval of the resolution.
Motion by Mrs. Charles.
Second.
Second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address the resolution? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action on Resolution R 2019-40, a plat of Lot 7, Block 9 of Westwood Addition, subdivision of Block 4, Westwood First Addition, northwest quarter of Section 16, Township 103 North, Range 60 West to the 5th Prime Meridian, City of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota.
Planning Commission recommends approval of this plat. You can kind of see it's out on Pheasant and 20th. This is where a lot of those twin homes are under construction. So as he gets them sold, that's when he starts platting them off. So, and you can see it pretty much follows the master plan that he's got drawn out there.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Rice, second by Mr. Sabers. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Action to approve Resolution R 2019-41, a resolution clarifying and segregating the surcharge for improvements to the City of Mitchell's wastewater system for payment of a revenue bond and yearly review of rate.
The enclosed resolution is required as part of the surcharge that the city implemented for debt service towards Sanborn Phase 2 and Phase 3 projects. We are not changing the existing rates that the city already put into place. We are just segregating and classifying which portion of that goes towards the surcharge. So we are not changing the rates. We are just going through the formal motions as required by bond council to segregate and state which portion of that is for the surcharge payoff. It does require that through the length of the bond, we keep that revenue separate. We show it separate on our budget so that it's pledged to pay off the debt. And that's how we get it into the 10% debt capacity versus the 5% debt capacity.
Okay, and that's good. I just thought of a question. So if we do change the rate in the future, the surcharge doesn't have to change percentage-wise, does it?
No, it's a dollar amount.
It's just a dollar amount.
It's a set dollar amount to pay off the pledge for the debt.
To make sure that.
So if you were going to change.
That we're raising the dollar amount, not.
Right.
Okay.
So if you were going to change your rates in the future, you could not touch this surcharge. You can only touch any other portions of the rate.
Yeah, whether up or down. Yeah.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Allen. Further discussion?
I guess the only other thing I will point out is it does require us annually to look at our rates, which we have to do with some existing debt service pledge, and we do that anyways.
Yeah. Anybody else wish to address this one? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Mr. Barrington, this one's all for you. Good thing you made it.
Yeah.
First reading on ordinance O 2019-07, repealing and replacing Mitchell City Code Chapter 5-6, fireworks and explosives. That explosives
Yeah,
sounds a little
explosives.
ominous.
Really bad. No wonder I got my phone ringing today. Explosives?
Well, I was just going to let Marty take this one. I suppose I can give you a little bit of
If you want to
background.
start, and then I'll chime in after you.
There we go.
Get the details of the legal portion of it.
There we go. So if you remember last year, we made the effort to allow certain fireworks surrounding the lake. There's a request this year to look at allowing certain fireworks throughout the city limits. So as I started to find a way for us to change the ordinance to allow for something like that, I stopped looking for a way to just add in another loophole and took a look at the whole chapter as a whole to try to make it work as best as it could. And, you know, from the beginning, that kind of starts off with our old definitions being kind of dated. What we did is looked at using the APA standard definitions, made some slight tweaks to those, but those are the classifications that all of your sellers and all your manufacturers are used to working under anyway. So it kind of made sense to me to just incorporate those. And by doing that, it helps us break up the use a little bit better than we were doing before. So you can see we've kind of got three general classifications now. The fireworks is kind of all kinds of fireworks, except ones that are novelties. And those novelty ones are party poppers, snappers, you know, kind of the basic, I don't know what you want to call them. I think of them like dollar store firecrackers. Kind of those cheaper toy ones that aren't going to cause most of any issues anytime. And then there's also the class for ground and handheld fireworks. And the APA document has a bunch of other definitions. The reasons that I chose to point these ones out, fireworks as the main category would be the ones that you'd see out around the lake area. That's going to allow you to use more things like those bottle rockets and the aerial artillery shells, that kind of stuff, things that'll shoot out a projectile. And the reason that those would be limited more towards the lake is, as we discussed last year, there's less of a possibility of, you know, damage to structures and things like that. It's just a little bit easier. The falling projectiles can hopefully fall into the lake harmlessly. And the idea with the ground and handheld fireworks then is those are the types of things where you don't see those projectiles shooting around. They're easier to control, so they should be a little bit safer to use in town where there's a more where there's more dense structure. The structure density is a little higher in town. So that's stuff like sparklers and little ground fountains and things like that. So we would still keep a lot of the old provisions. It's just reorganized a little bit. We still keep the prohibition against using or selling fireworks in town, which came out of the old code, except we say that you can use them if there's something that specifically allows for it in the chapter. And we'll get to that more in a second. And then we've also got a few uses that are exempt from that, like the theatrical productions and athletic events where you've got like starter guns and things like that. So moving on to novelty fireworks, again, we specifically allow those throughout town basically at any time as long as they're being used safely. And we do have a section in here that we'll touch on in a second that spells out what would be considered unsafe. And then we basically make those two categories under Section 4, where we're talking about exceptions for Independence Day. The times say the same as was set last year, noon to basically midnight on July 3rd and July 4th. And as I said before, you'd have kind of that general category of fireworks being used out in the lake area, and then just the ground and handheld fireworks being used in town. The reckless discharge of fireworks that I alluded to, that's carryover language from our current code that we put in place last year as well. The public displays and permits, that's again in our existing code where people come in and ask for fireworks permits. The storage and explosives language, again, is in our existing code. Just keep going down a little bit more. Yeah. And then we've also got that provision on there, the effect of the burn ban, which is also in our existing code. And I think that covers the basics, so if there's any other questions, or if Marty wants to go into a sales pitch.
Sales pitch, I like it. All right, let's put my salesman hat on. Obviously, everybody knows the fireworks ordinance that we presented last year, that we proposed and it passed. And from my side of things that I've heard from the community, they thought it was excellent addition that the city of Mitchell did out around the lake area, of course, giving the area to light off, obviously just fireworks in general, obviously the aerial shells and things like that. From my understanding, I know obviously somebody will have a question for Lyndon later, and I'll let him chime in later on how he believes that it went last year with that new ordinance being in place on enforcing it, going around, and did it help, did it not, things like that. So I'll let him talk on behalf of that later. We've been in discussion with Lyndon during the week. I've been in talk with the mayor and obviously Justin and Stephanie, and just sort of trying to get to this next stage, I guess. From my part, I've always sort of had the anticipation to do baby steps, I'm going to call it, and this is step 2, my baby walk. And the portion of what I'm actually getting at when people think about right away with fireworks in the city of Mitchell, I want them to back down, as in what I mean is back down on everything as their thoughts, but also just the fireworks in general. The whole purpose of it is for the young families, the ones that don't want to go out to the lake where the big ones are at, that they feel they're endangered, or they can go in their backyard and light off the ground fireworks. And what I mean by exactly what Justin mentioned, the smoke balls, the snakes, the sparklers, the small fountains, not the ones that go up in the air and make big explosions and blow up. Those are obviously are still going to be illegal within this new ordinance. I know, and everybody else knows, those are probably still going to go off once in a while. It doesn't matter if this ordinance changes or not, because there's always those people that are still going to put one of those up once in a while. But basically what I'm trying to focus on is giving the community and the citizens of the community, and especially the young families, an opportunity to light off a firework in their backyard on their personal property. It happens today. You drive around the 4th of July, you see kids out there in their sparklers, and I know I'm not going to call the cops. I'm pretty sure a cop doesn't want to pull over and give a 7-year-old a ticket by, hey, you can't light off that smoke. It's not for that snake, but technically it's illegal. Currently, right now, their ordinance, it's illegal for them to light off a smoke ball, anything else in their backyard. So I'm just trying to open up the avenue for our community to, I guess, to make it a little better for our citizens. Now, not every citizen's going to be up in the roar saying, great, we got fireworks in my neighbor's yard, but I want them just to really keep an open mind. We're not asking for the ones that are going to go up and make the big booms. I'm going to keep emphasizing that because I know some of the thoughts are out there, and that's not what I'm asking for approval. I'm trying to get something, a safe place for our current kids in the city limits that don't have some place to go. They don't want to go out by Lake Mitchell because of the big bombs that are going off out there, and probably a little bit more necessarily carelessly going on, but it's a bigger avenue of fireworks and bigger kids out there. I want to build that 7-year-old, that 10-year-old to go in the back with mom and dad and enjoy this beautiful day that we can celebrate in this national holiday. So it's really the avenue is what I'm trying to get at. I think, in my personal opinion, I think it's going to be a plus for the community. I don't think it's going to change anything with safety-wise, as in the public-wise. I think from what I'm sort of getting from a few police officers that I visited with on it is, they believe it'll help them because they have the same aspect. It's the law that you have to enforce, but this would give them that little area to help, working with the families out there too that are just trying to have a little fun in the neighborhood. So that's really the whole purpose of why I'm trying to propose this. And like I said, once again, no aerial shells, no artillery shells, just trying to make a nice little safe environment for people inside the city limits and have fun also and support our great holiday that comes up. So my minimal sales pitch, but ask me questions and been working with obviously Justin on it, but how we all started with this. I worked with fireworks dance people, Jeff Myron being probably more of the priority to begin with, but I called Jennifer Starr, talked to her, just trying to get with the APA out there, and that's the American Pyrotechnics Association, to let everybody know about it, but trying to get the right classifications for this so we don't get ourselves into a bind. I think Justin did a fine job on how we put the ordinance together and worded it where we get what I guess I'm looking for, I guess, and hoping support from the council and the community. So.
That's all you got to say?
Move to place on first reading.
Yeah, motion by Mr. Allen, second by Mrs. Charles. Further discussion.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about a couple things that I talked with Marty about. One, the concern of ground-based fireworks and potential noise issues, and I think the noise ordinance still be enforced. Marty and I talked about really liking to buy a 500 string of Black Cat fireworks and light them all off at one time. Well, those would be ground-based fireworks that technically would be legal, but from a noise standpoint, depending on when and how often they would occur, I could see that might cause an issue. So I wanted to bring out that we did talk about that. If you have firecrackers going off for 15 minutes in a row in your driveway, it might be an issue. The other item we talked about was to make sure that the litter issue, both, again, at the lake, and I think we had some people step forward, and we did some things last year that were good, and I think they learned some things that we can improve on. But also that if you're on your private property, you also have litter requirements, and that we wanted to make sure it was on private property and not in any other city properties around town. So
Like
those,
not in the street, for example?
not in the street, not in the parks, those types of things, on your own property. The other item, and because the way the calendar falls this year, with July 3rd being a Wednesday and the 4th being a Thursday, we have July 5th as a Friday, and I didn't know if you wanted to include 3 days versus 2 days. Again, because probably on the 5th, there's going to be a lot of fireworks still going off.
Yeah, and that definitely a discussion for the council. I know when we passed the ordinance the first time, I think Linda even brought that up at that time. He goes, so what's going to happen when it gets towards the weekends? Because obviously, obviously there's that opportunity to increase the day usages, if it's 4 or 5 or whatever that time compared to when it's gone, right during the week, we want to do the 3rd and the 4th. So right now, my personal opinion is, I guess I look at the 5th, probably still going to be majority of a work day, I think, for some people. My own personal opinion, I think there'll still be a lot of people working on the 5th, where, I don't know if I know, it sort of goes back and forth, I guess. I guess I'm still looking at it during the week, if it's next year, the 2021 I'm looking at, where actually now it's the 3rd and the 4th is on a Friday, and now we have the 5th as a Saturday. I think that might be the opportunity where we need to take a look at it, because they're going to roll together on a weekend event kind of attitude. But I think this one I'm personally fine, but unless the council thinks different, I'm fine with 3rd and 4th yet, personally.
See how this goes.
And Steve, just one thing to
Yeah.
one thing to clarify there. You mentioned firecrackers. Those actually would not be considered a ground and handheld device. Those are called an audible ground device under the APA.
So they
So
don't
they
fit
would-
in they don't fit into that definition.
Those would not fall in
Okay,
that
good.
category.
That's even better to know. Thank you.
We found that out after me and you talked.
So-
I didn't know that either.
So how do we educate the public about what is and isn't allowed, and how do we, so that it's enforceable?
I think it's going to have to be some public education, putting things out on social media and possibly the paper. I'll let other people speak to that. I'm not the expert
I mean, I
on
think
that.
go ahead.
I would say J.P. Scally will have that on tomorrow, and everybody will listen to that.
I'm sure he will.
Tune in to JP every morning.
I'm just thinking the firecrackers is a perfect example. None of us knew that that was not part of what was acceptable. So I think it's reasonable to believe that there are a lot of people in the public that would have that same misconception.
Hopefully, we can rely on our sellers too to educate people when they're selling, because they're going to know what these definitions are, and they're going to know what falls under the APA definition of what is ground and handheld fireworks.
When I had a conversation with Jennifer Starr and Jeff Meyering, they alluded to that immediately. Obviously, this is a huge plus to them, and they would definitely be pushing the fact of, you can light them now in the city limits. The list that Jeff Meyering actually said he'd have something at his fireworks store, probably a big thing right by the door kind of thing, new legalized fireworks for the city limits, and have a list of what they were kind of thing. And I believe that, and I'm going to obviously still be visiting with them on several things yet. I truly believe that they're going to do that, because obviously this is a big positive to their retail portion of their product. So I think if we ask them for anything to do like that, I believe we'd have the support of them, because I know they're obviously standing behind this. The other thing to roll in a couple other little things that we mentioned, the cleanup portion of it, I have been asking them also, the Meyering fireworks stand and also Star Fireworks have already promised a generous donation towards the cleanup portion at around the lake and stuff like that. So Nathan will eventually have that part of his process of getting some nonprofit organizations like they did last year to help clean up around Lake Mitchell. So I'm working on funds of that. Those two have already vowed what they did last year. They're going to match it again. And then I have not talked to Meadema, but as of last year, Meadema Sanitation said, hey, next year we're on board. That was a year ago, but I would be surprised if I did not get support from the Mead and Bus Sanitation again. So they'll have their dumpsters out and about again. The last portion of the question, I think you brought it up with me the other day too, is on the parks. Obviously, the current ordinance that I'm looking at is private property. Obviously not right of ways. You can't go out in the middle of the street and light them off. You got to be on your property. And the other part was parks, as in, Monroe, Hitchcock. I'm assuming, and personally, the way I'm at, and I know Nathan is that would not be legal to light them in the city parks. I don't know if we have signs out there now or not, but we could definitely postage up there, no fireworks permitted, ever permitted, or however, if that's something that we need to get up just to make sure people don't think, hey, let's run across the street to Hitchcock and start lighting them up, and then we got our parks full of litter too and stuff like that. So I'm looking at people's personal private property where if they have any mess, we know they're going to clean it up because it's right there in their front yard. So.
Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item 22, executive session. Motion to enter into executive session in accordance with South Dakota Codified Law 125-24, negotiation.
Mr. Mayor and council, if I can interrupt, I apologize, and I should have included this in citizens' input, but I wanted to put this out for public information. The city crews and commercial asphalt finished paving on Spruce, Cabela, and Raleigh. They did a great job working together on that, and I think it turned out really well. I just want to say that we appreciate the cooperation with the businesses as well, Avera, and I'm sure I'm going to miss a few that have worked really well with us, but I did want to say thank you to Avera, Farm Credit Services, Cabela, Kelly Inn, Culver's, Hardee's, Double Down, Walmart, Tractor Supply, Menards, Mega Wash, Sodak Sports, Verizon, Meat Locker, El Columbio, and other businesses and the residents as well for working with us and participating.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Croce. Hey, Mr. Croce, one other thing. Would you like to introduce our new city engineer? I should have done this earlier, and
Yeah, so we just started today. Our new city engineer is Joe Schrader, and we appreciate having him on board and welcome him and look forward to seeing a lot of good things.
Mr. Croce can't go to SPN for a few months, but other than that. Welcome, Joe. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
A motion to go into executive session.
Motion by Mr. McCardle. Second by Mr. Smith. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. There won't be any action taken after executive session.